Financial health of many of the country's municipalities has been on the decline. The 2022 Auditor General's report revealed that only 41 out of the 200 councils got clean audits. The district development model government has introduced with the aim to improve service delivery and address some of the key challenges faced by municipalities. Let's discuss that now with the Deputy Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs. That's Pakstau. Deputy Minister, thank you so much for making time for us. Let's start with the meeting, Deputy Minister, that you had with the UJ's Nuclear Research Center. What cooperation are you looking at?
Thank you very much, Clement, and good afternoon. We actually met with the UJ's Built Environment team that includes the nuclear team, but also areas of artificial intelligence, broader 4IR issues, and the circular economy, amongst others. And in our discussions, our focus was on the implementation of the district development model and how we can bring 4IR technologies in improving service delivery, focusing in particular on the water, energy, and food nexus. So the University of Johannesburg committed that it would assign amongst its postgraduate students areas of study that would focus on local government and the improvement of the district development model, utilizing various technologies.
Mm-hmm. How is that going to help improve governance and service delivery at local level?
Well, ultimately, from a governance point of view, it is possible to deploy technologies in a manner that could do some of the work that necessarily has complicated for many municipalities in terms of process. So that's about the deployment of technologies, and we're not preempting what the product ultimately would be, but governance is a particular focus area that we've had a discussion on with the University of Johannesburg, but also with other academic institutions, because we have said that in implementing the district development model, we need an array of partners, both public and private, to ensure that we can leverage their skills and capability to improve the performance of our municipalities. So it is about deploying technology in a manner that improves governance and improves the way in which we deliver services and coordinate our collective efforts as the three spheres of government.
Mm-hmm. There appears to be so many strategies that government comes up with. How different is this district development model from the previous models, like the back to basics? It seemed to me like sometimes there are too many of these strategies and models changing. The back to basics was actually championed by, if I'm not mistaken, Pravin Gordhan when he was Minister of COGTA. And there are those who argue that's probably part of the reason why municipalities are not getting better, because we're moving from one focus to the next, and we're not staying with one strategy and model for a sustainable period of time.
Well, Back to Basics is still a program that we're implementing. In fact, it's at the center of the implementation of the district development model. And it's important to explain what the district development model is. Now, the Intergovernmental Relations Framework Act provides 4 mechanisms of coordination between spheres of government. Taking the Act to its logical conclusion, the Minister is issuing regulations that govern this level of intergovernmental relations, cooperation, and alignment of efforts between the three spheres of government to address the issues raised in Back to Basics and to mobilize beyond local government all three spheres and other stakeholders to implement the issues that need to be implemented and confronted in local government. So our view is that this is an institutional model. What makes it more important is that we're moving intergovernmental coordination and relationship from being centralized to being a decentralized model that focuses on the areas that critically need those levels of and levels of cooperation. So it is about ensuring that we coordinate and address the issues that Back to Basics has raised and ensure that we're able to improve the performance of government.
And when do we start seeing that improvement?
We're already beginning to see some of the improvement in relation to coordination and alignment of budgets. I should say that the initial phase of the district development model was about the implementation of the 3 prototype sites, eThekwini in KwaZulu-Natal, OR Tambo in the Eastern Cape, and Waterberg in Limpopo. Having learned lessons from this, we're now consolidating this into an overall program of implementation, taking all the lessons we've taken into account across the country. But we've also, parallel to that, ensured that all municipalities or other district areas have developed one plans, and these one plans would include how local government is interfacing with provinces, is interfacing with the national government, so that there is a direct joint planning and joint execution of programs. And this is done at a more decentralized level. And that's why we say the district development model is more about improving alignment and coordination, ensuring that budgets speak to each other and that we're able to achieve common outputs. But,
Deputy Minister, can we really see an improvement in these local municipalities when we still have councillors that don't really even understand those budgets? I mean, we still have councillors who can't even read financial statements or deal with complex issues that are affecting municipalities. So I suppose we can expect that as you come with these models, the people that are implementing agents have got to have the necessary skills. I remember there was a time when the presidency indicated that only 53% of senior municipal managers meet the minimum competency levels. Why are you okay as government with having councillors who could have grade 10 as their highest level of education and yet have such complex governance issues to deal with?
We have focused attention as government together with SALGA to ensure that we're able to build capacity of councillors to exercise their responsibility. In fact, immediately after an election, all councillors are taken through an induction, and training of these councillors continues. National Treasury in the past 2 weeks convened a focus session in line with the City Support Program that looks at all metropolitan municipalities. So brought all metropolitan municipalities into Cape Town, ensured that all of them have a common program of capacity building. So training remains a particularly important issue, both for officials and for political office bearers. We have also instituted mechanisms that require minimum competency levels for particular posts in local government to ensure that there is compliance, including the need to continuously train by local government officials. So training and capacity building remains a critical part of what we do. That does not take away the fact that you have challenges in local government in relation to governance, in relation to financial management, in relation to service delivery that require attention.
Okay, so let's just be practical and take Johannesburg, for instance, as an example. The mayor, Kabelo Kwamanda, so if we're talking about minimum competency requirement for someone who's handling the city of Johannesburg with the budget that it has and the complex issues that this metro has, is it sufficient then to have a mayor with just a grade 10 or a grade 12 certificate with no further education?
We as government cannot regulate the level of deployment or election of people by political parties and who they send into government and how they then elect their executives. What we can do is, based on what we have before us, try and build capacity, ensure that we impart skills, build the necessary partnerships with the appropriate institutions so that both elected and appointed officials are able to execute their responsibility. I think what you are saying is that it is the responsibility ultimately of all political parties to ensure that continuously you bring the right people with the right capacity into our municipalities to be able to.
But political parties have already failed to do that. Sorry, Deputy Minister. Political parties have already failed to do this. You can't place that responsibility on political parties when over the years you have seen, government is telling us 53% of municipal managers do not have the necessary skills. That indicates that political parties have no interest in putting up councillors in these councils that have the necessary skills. If you continue to place that responsibility with them, it's not going to get us anywhere. As government, I would argue you have the responsibility to enact legislation that ultimately ensures that there is well-functioning municipalities. I don't think there's anything wrong with government realizing that we have issues with capacity and skills with these municipal managers and councillors. Why don't we at least say any political party that deploys a councillor, that councillor must have grade 12. If it's someone who's going to be a municipal manager or is going to be the MMC of finance, at the very least, they must understand financial principles and have some level of education when it comes to accounting and finance. What stops government from doing that?
We have instituted minimum competency requirements for appointed officials and employees at particular senior levels within local government and continuously ensure that there is compliance to that. What you are introducing is a debate that the country should have to say, is it the responsibility of Parliament, because this would be a matter that has to be processed by Parliament. Can Parliament necessarily place restrictions on who can be elected or can't be elected? And what does that mean for universal suffrage? What does that mean for universal access to the electoral system? Mm-hmm. So there are issues that are at the core of democracy that are also important here. But I think if it is that the country wants us to have that debate, it is not a debate that we should exclude, but we need to be conscious of the fact that we would be impacting on the fundamental principles of a democracy, which is about universal suffrage. Yeah. The right to vote is the right to be elected. And that's part of the reality we need to deal with. And that's why I'm saying it is important that we work with political parties to ensure that they bring the right caliber of people, but the electorate ultimately makes a decision, and on the basis of the people that are there, the political parties select their respective leadership.
Okay. Let me ask, as we wrap up, about the Ditsobotla local municipality. That's the most recent example of how financially unsound some municipalities are. Their workers there haven't been paid.
Ditsobotla is one of the examples of municipalities that are experiencing financial distress. In fact, in excess of 160 municipalities are in financial distress for a range of reasons. And this would include, amongst others, the lack of a rate space, because our local government system is designed such that the bulk of revenue is self-generated by the municipality with national government transfers complementing that. And it suggests that there is an important issue to discuss and raise this with National Treasury around the need to review the fiscal framework so that you don't create municipalities that would be in distress from design. Because if you go into a rural area that does not have, or a small town that does not have a rate space, their ability to generate revenue to be able to sustain their services is a limitation. But there are also other systemic issues that are important and that we're addressing. For example, with regards to the way in which we regulate tariffs in local government, there are instances where the regulators approve tariffs that are below, because ultimately the regulator gives the final decision, but those tariffs are below the cost of the bulk purchases. So there are those problems that we have. There are other problems that we have in relation to, for example, losses in the system. So you have unaccounted for water, non-revenue electricity, as a result of both commercial and technical reasons. And that requires capitalization. And it's a matter that needs to be addressed collectively. And over time, I think we've left this responsibility to local government. And what we're now saying in terms of the district development model is that, no, we can't just leave it to local government. We have a collective duty to ensure that our local governments are able to function and execute their executive obligations. We even announced in Parliament today that we are engaging with National Treasury so that we can implement what's called Schedule 6B, where we will take part of the grants that are not spent by municipalities as a result of capacity constraints and spend them directly. Because when a municipality receives grants for electricity, for example, and they don't spend that grant, or municipal infrastructure, and they don't spend that grant, that money is taken back to the national fiscus and the people suffer. So instead of us continuing to lament and say, but we still need to build capacity, the municipality has constraints, we're now saying, well, in these instances, whilst we're building that capacity, as a department through the municipal infrastructure support agent, we will ensure that those services reach the people. It is a far-reaching intervention because we're now literally taking over, and that's not what we want to do, but we're taking over responsibilities to ensure execution with the intention that over the next year or two, that capacity would be built and the municipality would be able to perform. But the people can't suffer because of these limitations.
Yeah. Pak Stau, Deputy Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, thank you for making time.